Thank you very much for inviting us here to the Magni Auditorium. Today we will hear the lecture of Professor Camillo Magni. As you might already know, Camillo Magni is the founder of the opera studio based in Milan and New York. And he is the president of the Architects Without Border, the Italian branch. And as well, he is the editor of the Casa Bella magazine, which you obviously know. It's a very famous magazine from Milan. So I would like you to enjoy, and I give the word to the Professor Magni.
Thanks a lot. So thanks a lot to invite me. It's a real pleasure to stay here and to share some my personal experience that we arrive from three different contexts. I would like to. Quanto devo parlare? 1 hour. Okay. If I'm too boring, you have to show me, please. Okay, it's enough. 1 hour. Yeah, in this way, 1 hour. So I put the time. Yeah. Yeah. Hi. So I would like to share you some different experience from different contexts. The first one is from international cooperation, from my work that I'm president since 2007, our Architetture Sans Frontiere Italy, that is a little NGO. And at the moment, I think that Architecture Sans Frontiere exists in 27 countries. I'm not sure, 28 or 27. And I'm the president from the Italian one. Then I would like also to show you something about my personal research and teaching that I'm doing Polytechnic Milan, and the most important things in CITED. CITED is a South America program, Ciencia y Tecnología para el Desarrollo, Science and Technology for Development, and then from Casabella. And then I will show you some, perhaps, I'm not sure, but I will show you some project, my own personal firm. I founded Opera Studio in 2007 with Lucia Paci. And we have two different, the main office is in Milan, and we have a little office also in New York, where Lucia lives. And my point of view is, in architect, there is, for me, in architecture, there is not any specialization. I mean, a lot of time when I talk about my project in the global south countries, it seems that I'm a specialization to be architect in this context. And I don't believe it, not at all. And the problem is different. How can we be an architect in specific context? How can be architect here working with you in VOR? And more, how can we be in one specific site that will be different from the other one, because each border, each line, each fence, sorry, I'm talking to our students, is quite different. And I'm sure that I have to be different when I work in Mozambique, in Senegal, and Ivory Coast, and Cambodia, and Paraguay, and Argentina, and Peru, and Cuba, in these different countries where I have done something. And also how I have to change the specific tools, my personal tools. So, first project from international cooperation, the context, I want to spend only some few words about the context, because I think that is quite relevant for us. This image is from Mathare in Kenya, in Nairobi, and it shows very well how is the context, and where the place where we usually work. And I want to just in very few minutes two points to understand this situation. The first point is the world population growth, and I go very fast. We know that in 1950 we were 3 billion. Now we are more or less 7 billion and 200,000, and we grow more and more. But if we observe, we consider in a in a better way this argument, and we try to divide the world population growth, dividing the developing and developed country, it's quite clear that the problem, not the problem, the more important area where the world population growth is in the development country. We can see the red line is from developed country and the blue one is in developing country. And this is the first fact that we have to consider. And the second fact that we have to consider is the urban area increment. I don't know, perhaps you don't remember, but in Venice, the Venice Biennale from Bucharest in 2008 was focused on the city. I don't know if some other of you have been, anyway. And the reason that since 2006, the 50% of the world population lives in the urban area. And this, in this diagram, show in a very short, in a very smart way, you can consider the different color. The green one show the urban population less than 25%, the blue one 25-50, the yellow one is 50-70, and the violet is 70, greater than 75. In 1950, only UK area was violet, and 1950, 60, 78, you can see, I come back here, sorry, 78, 79. Please pay attention to what happened in India and China country. That means that 300 million people lives in the urban area, and the same in India. Please pay attention. Please pay attention also what happened in United States area, and this is the urban area closer to Rio La Plata, Montevideo, and Buenos Aires. 2000, 2010, Europe, 2020, 30, 40. Please pay attention to what happened in South America and what happened in the west coast of Africa, with Nigeria, with this very large urban area that starts from Lagos and in Nigeria and finish until Accra in Ghana. Okay, this in 25. So, if we join these two different aspects, the urban area increment, and we join the world population growth, so we try to join the blue color on the right side and the violet color on the left side, it's quite clear that the real problem is the urban area in the developing country. In 21st century, the most important problem concerns the growth urban population in the less developing country. And what happened at the end, how the new urban population lives in this global south city, and we can consider some elements that the population that lives at the moment in the informal settlement is in Africa 87% of the population, in South Africa 64%, in Central Africa 75%, in East Asia 78%. And how the people lives in this way, more or less. This is the slum, and so the problem is how an architect, how we can work and produce architecture in this context. So these drawings by Cesar Pelli, the Victor Pelli brothers, the good brother, not the bad, the good, and show in a very smart way how a chabola, how an informal house can be transformed from an informal settlement. The first step is to sign the plot with toilet and WC and an informal housing, how it can be improved by the people who lives inside, and the last step. This means that more or less one family work on the plot for 30 years and try to enforce it to be better the house where he lives. And it's a natural process that the people do alone, For this reason, we talk about incremental housing in the progressive city. If somebody of yours have been in a human settlement, in the slum, in the favelas, in alchabolas, and have come back in the same place 5 years later, for example, I'm sure that he will be impacted by the difference in how the city changed by the people, made by the people. And for example, this image are from Phnom Penh in Cambodia, and this image show how the people lives in a very informal way with with wood structure and iron sheet roof and iron sheet walls. But these are the informal streets, the problem of the water. But this is a very hard and horrible place where all the children work with trash. Anyway, isn't right. But at the same time, this image explains us something quite relevant, that over there is a guy with some more money, and he decided to change his personal home, and they became to change the wood structure with concrete structure, informal wall with brick wall, and so on. And he showed us that he wants to improve his own house, and he wants to work to enforce it to have a better house. Here we are in El Ejido, in the south Spain, and El Ejido is a very little village that means more or less 10,000 people, and in the summer season arrive something like 15,000 people from Morocco to work in nelle serre, to work in greenhouses for vegetables and these things. And where they can live, they live in a waste dump, in the trash, and they built along some informal housing. Behind you can see the Sierra Nevada, the formal city, and here some informal structure. And but at the same time, okay, the problem, like always, is the water infrastructure. And this is, for example, one private house with, like always, wood structure, paper walls, and external plastic for the rain, kitchen, and so on. This is the toilet. But this image is amazing for me because it talks us a lot of things about how the people will try to live. And this image talks us about a bench that he decided to put on the north side, a plant, and a little roof. This is inside because he wants to improve the quality of his own house. And please pay attention to this little roof. So when he enters, he wants to protect his head from the rain. And this is incredible. He locked the door of the structure. That is, I think that is very easy to enter, but he wants to sign that this is my house, this is my plan, this is my bench, and they want to enforce to be better the way how we live. Here we are in Asunción, close to the Paraná River, and this is an informal settlement that was built in 1960, 1970. The river grow up 2 times in 2 seasons each year, and all this part of the city go down under the water. And this image told us a lot of things. For example, to the external border, here we can recognize again if some family that has just arrived from the border, for the countryside, they decided to move to the city, and again we can recognize an informal structure with wood and iron sheet. Again, the weather, the problem on the weather. But behind, we can consider it's a settlement that now more or less at 40, 50 years old. We can recognize that a lot of people try to change his private house and begin to change material and to to push the quality of the singular. And we can consider also this strange place that is a production settlement, and so on and so on. And this is Zatri is a refugees camp in Lebanon just now. And I think that this is quite relevant because when in the refugees camp you plan the tent camp, is a way to design the future city. I mean, this is, for example, an informal settlement, a refugees camp where the people have planned the tent, and we know that in 20 years there will be a city, and this will be transformed in a block, in an urban block. So when the people design, when the NGO design this structure, that means that in the future we will have a new city with this urban structure. Here, for example, we can see Balanza. Balanza is a neighborhood in Peru, close to Lima, in the north side, closer to the mountains, where some people arrived in 1970, 1980, and this was the first settlement, and was a plot 3 meter for 10 meter. Again, like a core. And what happened is the things that you have a house, a home, a private home with 3 meter, 10 meter. That is absurd, but it's a natural process. The people want to enforce his private house and begin to produce and to design alone his private house. So the same process in Milan. This is a gypsy camp. Again, very quickly, in Milan, again, closer to Via Barzaghi, close to the cemetery. And the government decided to move in Via Novara, in the Via Novara gypsy camp, and they offered this solution, this block, for 8 people, two, and behind me that I'm showing the picture, other 2 beds. And obviously, nobody wants to live in this way. And the first steps, like always, they begin to bring outside and to sign your private plot. And they begin to bring first kitchen, and second step, a wood structure, and again, another construction, and the brick, concrete brick. But here we can see the original structure. Can you see? Behind, and again, and this is the last one. But behind there is the original block. And the process is very simple, that the people want to enforce and to live in a better way. So we come back to the original diagram, that we have to understand that as architects, we have to change mind, and we have to change our tools, because we don't work in a product, but in a process. I mean, when here in Moscow you produce this building, you produce and you sell. It's a process, it's an economic process, very clear, where there is a developer that pay an architect, you have to design, and somebody else have to build and begin to sell. Here we have to change tools, because we are in a different process, where we are working in a process where the people who try to produce and to build alone, and so on and so on. So how architecture can improve local development? How is possible to use our technical skill in the human settlement? How specific issues as architecture can be changed in a new social perspective? At the end, how can we be an architect in the global South country? We try to design some technology for the self-construction, and we try to work in the social production of habitat. That means we move the idea of housing from housing, home, private home, to habitat. That is considered the social housing as a process and not a product, as I told you before, to involve residents through capability process, and to select the right project instrument to decide the city. At the end, they change our mind. Architecture, construction is not the principal aim, it's not our goal, it's not my goal to build something. My goal is to improve local development. How? Through architecture, through construction issues. But it's not my goal. My goal is the development. How? With architecture. If I would be a doctor, through medicine. If I would be an engineering, through a bridge, I don't know, new road and so on. As architect, the idea, the goal, the real goal is to improve the local development. So I will show you this research only about technology, and the idea is very simple, like IKEA approach that explains us how it's possible to build furniture alone, and this was possible through these elements that permits to me, to my mother, to her, to you, to build alone a furniture with these elements. And the idea is, it's possible to build private home alone with some specific design and with some specific technology. So the idea, the goal is how it's possible to, the ask is if it's possible to build a 65 meters square house, private house with only $5,000 United dollars. That means to bring the people to build himself a house, that means 3 topics. No shuttering, no electric machine, no any elements heavier than 100 kilograms. Second point, to improve a natural existing action that characterizes the human settlement. The third point, to join architecture product to capability project. And the last one, to improve process and not product again. So I will show you some technology. For example, this is the first that we designed 77 different technology to design private house. This is the first, how it's possible to design through very simple iron bars, the foundation, the pillar, and the principal beams. And we try to use the same elements to build these 3 different parts of the structure. And we designed this with these 4 iron bars that are always the same elements, and we combine. How is possible to build? In a very simple way, we did a capacity program with some guys from this informal settlement. Here we are in Rio Cuarto, South Córdoba in Argentina. It's something in the Pampa region, and it's a very simple way to build this bar. You have to join these 2 principal bar and to join with the secondary that is smaller, the Phi4, the central one, and Phi8 for the external one. And this is the main element. So you have to combine to build pillar and beams. This is a joint that permits to fix in an orthogonal 90-degree way the pillar and the beams. And again, those are the elements. The idea is to divide the construction in an industrialization way. What I mean, that for me, that I'm an architect, but I'm not a worker, it's very difficult to build alone a home. But it's quite easier to divide the construction in different elements and to bring it not closer to the construction, but for example, in a place like this one, to divide the elements and to build only some elements. For example, this one, or through bricks, instead to build a traditional wall like this one, that is a brick wall, build panels and combine the different panels for the external walls. Here I will show you some image. That is a way to build brick panels and to use the brick instead in this way. In this way, that means that you use the 30% of the bricks because it's larger and smaller. With the iron frame, I will show very quickly. A second concrete frame And those are the final panels that you put and you can bring closer to the construction site. The same panel, we change the shape to enforce the structure. That is this way. If you have a panel like this one, it's very difficult to transform a panel it's perfect for the wall, but we have a lot of problem for the roof, isn't it? So the idea, we have two different opportunities. Or we use more material that support this dimension, but more material, heavy and more expensive. Or we change the form. That is cheaper. And in this way, we try to use the same panel with this shape to transfer the panel from the wall to the roof. Okay, this is a special shuttering. Very simple. I was very young with a lot of hairs. Is 3.80 meters for 45 centimeters with some special joint. I go very fast, and we put the same panel for the roof of the structure. And this is from the interior. And we begin to enjoy trying to use different panels like dome and so on and so on. Okay, very quickly for the window, that is impossible to build some window like this or wood structure because it's too difficult for some people that try to work for the first time in the construction issues, in the construction field. So this is a way to build alone concrete windows. Again, panel elements that they could use in different way. So, very, I want to change. Okay. This is in this case we can see this is a gender program with 45 women that try to build 45 private houses in Argentina, and they try to join this different technology. Here we can see the original platform with the iron structure for the beam, for the base, for the foundation, and for the pillars. And they built the panel, and here you can see this joint. Okay, anyway, this joint, 5 centimeters to the basement of the panel at 25 centimeters to the top. And the idea is, in this case, to join the two panels and to fix to the foundation until the principal beam. And you can see here that if you put this hole, here we have a hole. Do you remember that self-construction means no shuttering, no shuttering, no shuttering. And here we have a wonderful wall, external hole with iron. That means if you put concrete, it's a beam. And this is a way to fix and to close the structure of this little home. And again, very quickly. Okay, and so on and so on and so on. This the concrete windows and so on. This is the roof, front interior, and again. And these are these very simple private houses in this neighborhood. But the most important thing is to come back in the same place 2,000 later, that the people obviously begin to enforce and to be better their home, and they begin to transform these very poor, very simple houses in this other structure. And the most important thing was that we built 35 private houses, and after 2 years, the houses in the neighborhood that they begin to use the same material and they begin to use and to enforce was 185. 185. We started with 45 houses, and after 2 years in the same neighborhood, 185 houses family, that means family and so on, begin to use the same material. That means that we worked on the development process of the neighborhood and not to build and to sell these horrible, very simple houses, but we started to work in the process of the informal settlement. And again, and again. Okay, behind there is a lot of the original core. Okay, very quickly, this is another technology to build a dome, but a dome usually we use iron bars and concrete, but iron bars in the Central America is very expensive. It's cheap more or less in Chile and Venezuela, Brazil. In the other countries, very expensive. Here we is a technology for Peru, and we try to change iron bars and to use bamboo. And we try to understand if it's possible to build a dome with bamboo structure. And it's a very simple joint because he had to move. And we fix 2 chicken nets, one on the top and one on the bottom of the dome. Then you move on the top of the house and you use concrete. Here we are in Arequipa. Please pay attention. This is 4 meters. It's like a room. It's very important. 4 meters, 4 meters. These 3 women are very fat, and they support perfectly. No, sorry. And this is this strange private house with 4 domes with this structure. Okay. This is not simple. Here we are in Ghana, and one of the main problems is the iron sheet that is very easy to use, but is very expensive. 1 meter square iron sheet in this moment in Mozambique, the cost is $10 meter square. That is very expensive, and but all the people use because it's very easy to use it. But at the same time, we try to change the material, and we try to design some specific concrete tiles. Because it's easier, because if you buy a lot of iron sheet in this moment in Africa, all the iron sheet is produced in South Africa, and you enforce this market, and doesn't mean that you enforce the local development. You enforce the market of South Africa. And the idea is, like always, try to change material, how to change technology to enforce local economy. And again, we try to design this technology for concrete tiles. That is very simple way to produce one tile. Is more or less 2 minutes each tile, and is a way to 8 millimeter deep with an electric machine on a plastic paper, and then you move this plastic paper on a mold, on a plastic mold, cassero, shutter. Okay. And those are the tiles. Anyway, it's not important the technology itself, but it's the idea. And from this point, we try also in our project with Architetto Sans Frontiere Italy, we try to use the same approach, how it's possible to use local material to inform the local economy. And I will show you one project in Phnom Penh, in Takeo, and is an educational program, is educational infrastructure in Cambodia, is a school, secondary school. We work closer to Phnom Penh in this little village. And the first step, like always, is to understand the context. And we visit the context, and we understood more or less how the people live. And it's quite interesting because we organized 2 different typology of housing, of private housing, and they work in different way. From this house, this private house is closer to the main road. All the road of the country are higher than the country level. And you can see that they built this palafitte structure to join the two different levels. But we can recognize the same typology also in the country field. And it's quite interesting what happened at the ground floor, because we understood that on the top, on the first floor, usually you can find the private rooms, bedrooms, and at the ground floor, usually the people bring the dinner room is the place where the people works, lives, cooking, and so on, so on, so on. And in this case, for example, they begin to change the ground floor in a shop, a private shop. And I think that is quite interesting to understand this this lifestyle. And we begin to visit the traditional schools that are interesting because they work on the same typology. They work around the central core, public space, more or less. It's like a dvor. Okay. And those are the typical school here in Cambodia. And it's also interesting that it's very simple, the corridor to bring the students to the classroom. And you can see on this image on the left side, on the right side, that the corridor is something like 1.5 meters. So we decided to build this school from the context typology, but we try to change. This is the first step, and now we are working on the second step. And the idea was to enforce this corridor, and instead to build 1.5 meters, we tried to build 3 meter width of this corridor, and we decided to leave these two open space place free for the students, that they could, like in the private house, that is so relevant to stay and to spend time under the shadow of this ground floor open to the city and so on. We decided to replace the same atmosphere also at the school, leaving totally free these two. It's like a open classroom, you can say. Okay, those are the other step. This is the section, and again we tried to divide the construction in different elements, and we tried to not to use concrete blocks, but we tried to use earth blocks, and instead to use concrete beam, we decided to use bamboo beams, and the reason is like always, we try to change technology to enforce and to use local material, because the idea is all the time to enforce the local economy. This is the foundation, is not so relevant, and but perhaps is more interesting this point. In the foundation beams here, usually you put a iron grid for the floor, and we decided it was too expensive for us, and we decided to change material and to use again bamboo, and we built a bamboo grid to fix this grid to the floor. And okay, I don't. To be honest, after 5 years, it's good. I don't know if it's work. We hope so. And again, we put the concrete, and the bamboo structure works instead. And yeah, it works like iron grid. And we produce earth block. I hate earth because it's very heavy and it's very difficult to work with earth. But in this context, it was the only material that we could use, and but it's very difficult to work with earth because you spend a lot of time to build the singular blocks. And so we try to design one specific iron shutter, like here, that permit us to produce 18 blocks. You can see here, 18 blocks in the same moment, at the same moment, like here, that help us to produce faster all the 15,000 blocks that we needed for our structure. And I think that this is great for us as architects, because like, did you study Semper? Semper. Yeah, Semper is a very important architect from UK in 1935. Well, he works a lot on construction issues, and he explained us that in the construction there is 4 different steps: material, element, component, construction system. And usually here in Italy, or also I think so, also here in Russia, the architect works on the last step, construction system, because nobody else has designed a block, a brick. We buy a brick. We never design a brick. Okay? In this context, it's great for me to be an architect because it permits us to choose material, first step, to design the element, how to design the block. How is the block? 20, 20, 10, 25, 5, 15? I don't know. You have to design. You have to design the shuttering, and you have to design the block. So you control all the construction process. You can be architect 100%. That this is great. Material, earth. Element, block. Component, wall. Construction system, work structure. And for me, it's amazing, this control of the process. And we enforce with some iron bars, each 1 meter. So we produce some special blocks. Here you can see that you put into the bar, and then you put the concrete, and so on, so on. You can see here, and again, and again. Then we went this is an image about this wonderful bridge on Mekong River. We went to find the bamboo forest, and we cut it, and we find the bamboo, and this is amazing. It's here since 100 years ago, and we use the bamboo. Bamboo is grass. It's not a tree. It's grass, and it works very well to compression, extraction, but very bad in deflection. So for the beam, to be honest, is great for the dome, as we have done in Peru, but it's not good for the beam. So the only idea was to join different bamboo and to fix together to enforce the structure of the beam. And here, and again, we decided to design a very simple school with the same beam that permit us to industrialize the production, to take 5 guys and to explain how to build this beam. You finish your school, and they go on to produce beans for the neighborhood, like always. The idea is to improve the local market, to the local development, not to build a school. And this is a very simple way. We design these elements to fix the beam, and when you fix and you join the different bamboo, you have to join together with this iron bar. You can see here the iron bar, and you fix this 11 meter. The dimension is a lot, and we put on the top of the school. And this is the school at the end, when we finish it, where you can recognize the structure that is 2 meters and 30 for the roof, but at the same time we decided to change the dimension of the wall, of the external wall, because we wanted to enforce the element, the wall that divided the courtyard from the corridor. We wanted to enforce this element that in the corridor that divide the corridor to the courtyard, and at the same time we wanted to destroy. You can see destroy the element that divided the classroom from the corridor. This idea is very simple because we usually the classroom is the place where you have to learn, and the corridor is the place where you can find your friend and enjoy a lot. So the idea was to join these two different places, to these two different atmospheres, and to divide more and more the corridor from the countryside, from the courtyard, because the sun is very heavy, and so on and so on. And for this reason, I come back, you can see this stronger porch to the courtyard, and on the other side, this bamboo structure to divide the classroom from the corridor. Okay, and this is a project from my own office, not from Architecture Sans Frontières, and we proposed the local development in Luanda, the idea was in Angola, and the idea was, again, to start in this development from one core and to design this core in a way that could be improved by the people themselves. And the idea in this case is quite just a little strange. We try to design a structure where you can change the roof, use iron sheet roof, and to change the roof and to go upper, to grow up with your construction. So this is the first step. This is the second step, where this part of the roof move on the other side. This is the third step, and this is on the other side is the last one. And this permits, this idea to develop the neighborhood, the block. This is, for example, our proposal for 2 blocks. This is the first step, and perhaps the neighborhood could be grow up alone and to change the different private patio in a different way. Okay, again, this is the plan section is not so important. This way, we try to use only one wood structure, with la fodera. Questo è difficilissimo. La fodera is a very simple, cheap, very cheap element, wood element that is 2 centimeters for 6 centimeters, 1.5 meters. With this element, we try to join together, and 3 elements to build pillar, and only 2 elements to build the beams. And with only this element, we try to design all the house, private house. And okay, here you can see the tree, and the singular for the other part of the roof. And some specific. The problem of the elements that this work when you build a house and you connect in the corner, you have a lot of problem, because this connection is very difficult, and it's very difficult that it's very strange that the people who is not able to build alone is able to build this corner. So we thought that perhaps it's better to build this corner in this way, and then to connect in this way. So you enforce your corner. Again, it's more important, it's cheaper to use the 3 direction, not only two, but also the third one. And so to build also this connection. Okay. Va bene, let's go on. Okay, let's go on. And it was a way to build one private house with $5,000 for 65 meters square. Now I will show you. Okay, now this is a project from my own office, and again I'm moving from some project from my opera studio, and this is a social housing in Switzerland, and is quite different the context, and we are close to Ginevra, and again the idea is as I told you before, also involve, also in our context, each time to understand the context, and from the context to pick up the information to build, to develop your own project. And in this case, the context was a wonderful Switzerland countryside, and we could recognize this wonderful country, country construction, like this one, with this incredible roof, is all the morphological aspects. That is quite interesting, that are very simple with a strange shape. So we decided to develop this idea, and again, the context is this one. We needed to build in this little urban block, and we decided to leave free the central park, like in these two directions, and we decided to build very, very simple blocks, linear blocks, that try to replace the traditional construction. And okay. And the idea was to use wood structure and try to work with a morphological we try to work on the roof to try to bring a relationship with the other traditional construction. And again, you can see it's all the time the same typology. Those are some internal view about the feeling, the atmosphere. And those are some construction section. And okay, I think that is not so important, so relevant, but anyway, was only through wood structure, X-cross. We decided to use X-cross wood structure and some focus on different typology. But the main important things that I wanted to discuss with you was, again, in another context, the approach more or less is the same. From the context, pick up the main information and to develop the project. And we try to do the same, with the same approach. We try to do the same things here in Wittenberg, in European 12. They talk in Germany, closer to 100 kilometers to the northeast, west north to Berlin. And Wittenberg is a small village, and the place where we did our project, this competition, is here, closer to the city center. And we start to visit this place, and we fall in love with these three ancient docks, with these incredible brick walls and this strange shape. And so we thought that perhaps the idea was to develop new housing from this shape, and we decided to, and this is the landscape that I also come back here. You can recognize two different atmospheres. One field, very, very large, and some forest. And so we decided that perhaps we could use the same elements also for our project. So we decided to replace with the same shape some building perpendicular to the river, the existing one, and again the new one, the new one, the new one to the new one, and from the other side to build, to design a little forest closer to the city, and to leave a totally free space in this central area. So we tried to design on the shape of the building, the new one, a path, a public space to connect to the city center, to the external, and this central space. And again, okay, this is the plan. And the idea is very simple. It's like the minimal artist that doesn't want to show something particular, but they want to show a process. If you If you put here a glass, is a glass. If you repeat this element, one glass, the second one, the third one, the fourth, and so on and so on and so on, you enforce these signs, you enforce this process. For this reason, we thought that the more simple way to enforce the context was to replace again, and again, to replace the same approach, to put elements perpendicular to the river. Okay. And also in the construction, this, sorry, I come back, we needed to, in the context, in the three existing buildings, we needed to add some stairs and elevator and so on and so on. And so we thought that perhaps it will be possible again to replace in concrete with another material, but to replace the shape to enforce the existing one. So you can recognize here the existing structure, the existing three docks with the new one and the new function closer to the existing one. From the river, winter, and so on. This is the view from the forest with this central field, and behind the four new buildings. Some images about atmosphere that are quite different. The idea was to divide into different forest and the field. Okay, the last project. This is a private, it's a private housing in Milan. Another context very close to where I live. Okay, we are in Rogoredo is like the second or the third periphery, more or less, in Milan. It's a very horrible place, and they asked us to rebuild this existing building, and the idea was very simple. Those are some image about the context, and the idea was very simple to build two housing building that try to reinterpret the courtyard buildings, and with two different approach, and try to connect each other, working on this public street. And here there is the train station, so we try to connect with some public elements the new housing buildings to the infrastructure. Okay, here you can see these two different typologies about courtyard, and this is the first building. The problem was to put a lot of meter square, and so we tried to combine this problem, and we tried to combine some linear building of I don't remember, 4 or 5 floor height, and some tower on the top. Here you can see some image. Okay, but I think that the more interesting things is, I want to come back to the plan, sorry, here, was to try to design some different area. This is a private courtyard, this is a public square, another little public square, another little public square, and we try to design two different connections. This is totally public, this is semi-private, like here. And the idea was to connect the semi-public, in this connection, try to put there all the main entrance to the building, some public common space, and try to connect the vertical distribution to the horizontal line. It was a way to enforce this semi-public street. You can see here in this diagram. This is the public square, this is semi-private. Those are the main entrance, again a public, again public, private entrance, public square, main entrance. It was to enforce one specific line. Okay, those are not so relevant. The section, this is perhaps for us, for Italy, is quite relevant. the relationship at the we have a lot of problem at the ground floor because the people who live at the ground floor want privacy, and nobody wants that the people who stay in the street look at to the private house and so on. So many times we talk about the ground floor is like an urban design where you have to design the centimeter scale. For the building you can use meter, but for the ground floor it's better to use centimeter scale. That means if you have the windows 2 meter height, perhaps it's better 2.5 meters. On the other floor is not so relevant where you put the windows, and so on and so on. Some image from interior to exterior side, I think that is not so relevant. Some image, we try to define two different typology of facade. From the external, that is different from the interior one. This is more domestic, and here you can see this is also the north facade. This is more urban, we can say urban, and on the other side is more domestic with the balcony and so on and so on. And the other courtyard, we decided to change architecture, and we tried to design two space. This is a public square open to this park, and this is a private courtyard connected to the principal entrance of this private house. And again, with the same diagrams, the facade that is not so relevant. I wanted to show you. Okay, again, the public square connected to the existing park, and the private and semi-private street to connect these two spaces each other. And again, the public, the main entrance, and some common space, and so on and so on. And so on and so on. Again, these two different places. This is public, this is semi-private. Okay, and I finish with this point that perhaps are interesting for you. Is like an investigation about the program. How we can infer housing program with some new function. So we begin to thought about this, and we divided in different topics. The first is mobility, and we thought that perhaps it could be interesting to put some car sharing into your housing building. And again, we thought also about bike sharing, and we thought also pedestrian area where cars can enter to enforce the pedestrian dimension. And again, also in the vertical connection, we thought that the place where the people go out from his own private house is quite relevant. And so we design, it's quite relevant to have natural light, and we design some special place for the baby cars, I don't know. Okay. And then we work also on working issues, and we added some common place for working, co-working, and so on. And other function for the common people and so on. Some shops, more conventional shops, and some special shops for, this is very gas. Well, anyway, gruppo di acquisto solidale. And then we added also some reflection about energy and communication. That is very simple idea. It's possible to have a common Wi-Fi, and perhaps it's also possible to have an app that permits us to talk to each other, because nobody knows the people. If she would live closer to me, I'm sure that I never stay with her. But if we could share a chat, perhaps a common chat, perhaps it would be easier to begin to talk if we live in the same place. And okay, is like a smart way to join communication issues to the architecture. Okay, I finish. Thanks.